Okay, number.
So my name is Sanam. I'm from Conyers, Georgia. I went to a private high school called Athens Academy, which had a graduating class of about 95. And right now I attend the University of Georgia and I'm a fourth year. I started the college search process in junior year when our class took a college trip for like a week off that we had every fall semester. I was more on my own because my parents are like first generation Americans. They don't really have a lot of insight in what the college search process looks like. So that was really me more like looking for myself, and then my sister helped out some. I would say the best part is just like the prospect of living somewhere else maybe for 4 years, or like the next step in your life, like really considering like what you want to do in the future. But I would say the worst part is like when the reality sets in that you actually have to choose somewhere to go and you start getting all those rejection letters. Kind of hurts your self-esteem a little bit. I think just deciding like where you could actually see yourself living, because in the first 18 years of your life, you know, you grow up in one place, most people do, as I did. So the idea of, do I want to live in North Carolina? Could I see myself out west? Could I see myself up north? Like the reality of that, I feel like is hard to actually see. I think what I would have liked from the college search process is just having more help of really knowing like what kind of colleges I should be applying to based on what I want to do in the future. It kind of felt like I was just randomly picking schools at some points. So it felt like it was hard to find a school that really tailored what I wanted. I just think feasibility, like financially, I was like, what makes the most sense for me to do, especially with what I want to do in the future. I always saw myself pursuing a graduate degree, so I never thought I needed to spend a lot of money for my undergrad degree, so that's really how I narrowed it down. And I decided later that I wanted to stay closer to home, so I really narrowed it down to schools in the Southeast. I took the SAT once in junior year in the fall, and then I took the ACT once in the fall, and then again in the spring of my junior year. I actually didn't do any test prep. I think standardized testing was something that always came very easily to me. So those first 2 times I took those tests, I did it to just kind of see like where I was at, and then I just really didn't feel the need to do it again. I took, I think, as many AP classes as I was allowed to take, and I think at the end that ended up being about 10 to 12 AP classes. Yeah, so I actually started a club when I was in high school. It's called Girls Club. We kind of just raised money for like different nonprofits we were really interested in working with, and so that was really cool. I played tennis, and then I volunteered for the International Rescue Committee in Atlanta, which helps resettle refugees in Lake Clarkson. We had advisors that helped us see like what our next year should look like based on just how hard we wanted our schedule to be, like having like a good school life balance, and like which extracurriculars we wanted to do. So in that interim week, I think we visited about 6 to 7 colleges. And then I also visited the school that I now attend, the University of Georgia, in my senior year once in person. And those were all in person. I don't think I ever did a virtual tour. For me, because I knew I wanted to to go to grad school, I wanted a school with a lot of research opportunities. I also wanted one that seemed like it would be very friendly. I'm a very non-competitive person, so I think environment was a big factor for me. Even though academically I have like a very like rigorous schedule and like mindset, I still like the idea of like working within a collaborative environment. So I think that's what ended up being like my main deciding factor. So for the University of Georgia, financially, Zell, there's really nothing that would ever compare to that. And I got another scholarship on top of that. So financially, it's just made the most sense. And so I was essentially deciding between here and Duke. And just based on those factors, the collaborative environment, just how friendly everybody is, and I think staying closer to my family, I ended up picking the University of Georgia. The hardest or most unexpected part would be just life as a freshman in college. Living in a dorm is something completely different than living at home. Like having a roommate in like a small like 4x6 room, I think is very different than anything I grew up with. And then I think just having your own schedule and having to like go to class on like your own terms, like there's like not a classic 8 to 4 schedule, I think was the hardest part to adjust to. Major in biology, and I'm like dual enrolled in my master's program in epidemiology, and my minor is in global health. I have not studied abroad because of COVID. All 3 of my study abroads actually got canceled due to the pandemic, but I do plan on studying abroad as I pursue my master's degree. Currently, I am the president of a service organization called Rotaract, which works with the local Athens Rotary clubs to serve different projects like the homeless shelter, Habitat for Humanity, Food to Kids, and just a bunch of stuff along that vein. I am also a mentor for like a little middle schooler named Nyla, and I visit her about once a week. I'm a research assistant in a cancer research lab on campus as well, and I usually work 12 to 15 hours a week on that. I actually think my classes are a lot easier than I expected. Our high school, I think, did a really good job of making our classes very, very difficult and work heavy. And I think in college, I was surprised to see how little homework we have in comparison to high school. But I have obviously had classes that were very hard, but I think I was well prepared to take on the challenges that those came with. It is a lot different than I thought it would be. I came here partly because it's also a very large university. I like the idea of being kind of unknown, but it's crazy how a small town can make even a large university feel very small. And I think one of the things that I didn't really expect, which I think was just poor planning, was just how sometimes a large university can really just make you feel like a number at times. Like in terms of my next steps, I often felt like I was like left to the sharks to figure out what I was supposed to do and how to apply to grad school and stuff. So I think that was also very unexpected. I think what I really wish I had known was applying to more public universities. I think our school really focused on sending applications to like private universities, which just don't have as much funding. But I think if I would have known that public universities are like more willing to give like merit scholarships and stuff like that, I would have been more likely to leave the state. So that's something I wish I would have known. Don't take it too seriously. I think everyone, it feels like where you go to college is like the end all be all of like who you are and like what you'll do. But I think at the end of the day, what you do with the opportunities that you're given is way more important than the name or the prestige of whatever school you go to. College is a great time. Obviously, you should work really hard, but I think it's also very important to maintain a balance in your life. How awkward would it be if I just didn't record any of that?
I would. We'd start all over again.